Okay, we are into part 3 of this series on iron versus copper. Now, I knew when I made the first one, by the time I finished the video and got it processed, that it was only a part 1, that it was going to have to go deeper. But now, after the last 2, I'm probably seeing several more videos on this subject. Using this same little diagram. So let's just get right into it. Mars, root chakra, Jupiter, the sun, and the moon here. This needs to be a video all on itself, is the solar plexus and why the sun and the moon both reside there. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and do that right now. Let's talk about that right now, because this is so important. It's really what all these rituals are about. All these, I call them Code 66, the FFs, our own little FF against the Empire doing it against us, is actually what's going on. Code 66 in Star Wars was to kill all of the Jedi. Now, when you talk about Capricorn, Aquarius and Capricorn, but predominantly Capricorn, is where we get the stories of Star Wars. The 2 stars in the horns of the goat, they're called the lucky ones of the slaughterer. And it tells the story of when Anakin Skywalker walked into the Jedi temple and killed all the younglings. And it's the story of the ones that got away, the lucky ones of the slaughterer. And so Aquarius and Capricorn are very much about mind over matter. Especially Capricorn. Its motto is I do, but it's more of let. It's not do. You don't do, you let. The Force, the thing about the Force is, like now they're telling you the Force is feminine. Well, the dark side would be feminine and the light side would be masculine. Everything has a positive and a negative charge. Now let's talk about the rituals that are going down, because 9/11 was an eclipse ritual. They took down the 2 pillars, the solar pillar and the lunar pillar. They took them down. And the pillar they replaced it with was not the middle path. The pillar they replaced it with, they took the moon pillar and they turned it upside down and shoved it down into the solar pillar. So we're looking, when you look at this new building they have, the lunar pillar is now upside down. So you have Jupiter on top and you actually have the moon at the bottom. They have inverted it, which has a lot to do with Peter dying upside down, because we're in the age of mutable water. We're in water age and the solar pillar represents water. So to pull those 2 pillars together and put the lunar pillar over the solar pillar is an eclipse. And it set the stage for the 2 eclipses we're in the middle of right now. We're a little over halfway through them here in the United States. And the second eclipse that's going to happen in April 2024, it will start in the southwest and complete in the northeast. It's going to go the opposite way the other one did, so that it makes an X across the United States. So the very last of it will end in the northeast area. Let's put it that way, in the northeast area. And it finishes the cycle. Now, this is also about an eclipse and the cross. because 9/11 also marked the last day of Leo, the first day of Virgo, as the Fukushima 3/11 marked the last day of Pisces, the first day of Aquarius. So they're marking those dates, but there has to be two more. There has to be an 6/11 ritual and a 12/11 ritual, or a 6/12, 12/12, depending on whether they pull it off on leap year or not. But they're all about the numbers. They're all about the symbolism. So even things like Black Sun. Black Sun can be a reference to an eclipse. It's where you have the sun, but now it's black. So keep all that in mind as we move through this. I really like this diagram. I have really enjoyed working with pulling the planets from the crosses and from the pillars and from the paths and putting them right in our bodies. Because as above, so below, as without, so within. Now, let's continue here. Heart chakra, Venus. Throat chakra, Mercury. Crown chakra, Saturn. All right. As I've said before, this is the masculine side. This is the feminine side. We have two fathers and two mothers, basically. What you're really talking about when you say that, you have to divide the body this way. Everything over here, everything below the line is what I call of the flesh. It's of the physical body. It's in the physical world. And everything above the line is the spiritual world. Remember, Jupiter rules all things physical, and Saturn rules Jupiter here rules all things physical, and Saturn rules all things spiritual. Now up here we have Aquarius and Capricorn at the very top. You have heaven on, why did I make that acute? Air and earth. Let's just make that an E. I know y'all don't see it, but I have a drop down here that keeps popping down on me every time I get up that high. So we have Aquarius and Capricorn, heaven on earth, air, and earth. Now, there's a lot of disputes between lunar astrology and solar astrology as to who actually rules Aquarius. In alchemy, there's no ifs, ands, and buts. Saturn rules Aquarius. These two previous astrologies in modern day have only known about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto for around 200 years. So to think that they have an authority on what that means is ridiculous. For one, it takes Pluto over 200 years to go around the circle. America is experiencing its first Pluto return. A huge cycle, huge generational cycle, huge life cycle. One that repeats over and over again every few hundred years. Just like what I call the unique generations, when you have Pluto and Uranus in the same house at the same time. To have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind the same. That's quite a unique generation. It doesn't happen very often. So, everything above is considered copper, and everything below is considered iron. Mars rules iron, Jupiter rules tin. The moon is silver, the sun is gold, the heart is copper. The throat is Mercury, and Saturn is lead. The philosopher's stone is to turn lead to gold. You're supposed to take a little sliver of the Philosopher's Stone, actually, is just supposed to take any metal, any chakra, and turn it and connect it into the crown chakra. When you unplug from this 110 and plug into the 220, you're turning lead to gold inside you. This is also done in the physical world, but those who seek it are seeking it for Jupiter. Desire, wealth, riches, fame, that kind of thing. Worldly things. Now, we each have, like I said, 2 fathers and 2 mothers. You have a physical body, mother and father, and you have a spiritual body, mother and father. You need to know who you're plugged into. Now, in the world we live in of duality, we're always given the left-hand path of the solar pillar or the right-hand path of the lunar pillar. But the thing is to go right up the middle at that straight and narrow path, and that path takes you through the heart. It is the path of most resistance for a man. It is the path of least resistance for a child. If you've not been programmed in gender studies, masculine and feminine, then that middle path is easy to walk. That's why they're so hell-bent on even teaching sex education to preschoolers. They want it everywhere. They want this to be the dynamic because we're going through a shift. Everything is charging up. We're unplugging from the 110 and we're going to be plugging into the 220. And for that to happen, without getting, let's say, electrocuted, you need to be grounded. Kelly's calling me. I need to pause. Okay. Today, we have this huge Mars thing going on. And it's all about emotions and sexuality and power. It's everything. The sun, the moon, and Jupiter and Mars. That's who you really got in play. Now, this dynamic of sun, Jupiter, sun, moon, Jupiter, Mars has been working for them for aeons. Over and over again, they keep pulling off this same thing. We call it the rise and fall. I'm sorry. I'm just now realizing my microphone is not working. I hope you heard what I just said. But it's what we call the rise and fall of civilization. But it has all been orchestrated. And they do this by signs and symbols. They even have their own. Their own are divided. Everything below this power structure is divided. So the left-hand path does not know what those of the right-hand path do, and vice versa. They think they're working against each other when it's always been that way. It's always been fire and water. But now we're moving into a time where Jupiter, empire, and desire will have no part in the next 2 ages. Mars is going to move from the masculine to the feminine. I have to pause again, sorry. Okay, now as I said, Mars is moving from the masculine of cardinal fire in Aries to the feminine of fixed water in Scorpio in the next stage. Talk about a flip. That's going to really humble. Actually, Venus and Mars are going to move from the masculine to the feminine. Now, right now, let me clean this off. Right now, we know that they're the Rho in the Cairo, and they're going to switch positions. This symbol is coming down. It has to come down. It doesn't have a choice. The symbol for this age was simply supposed to be an X, but it was hijacked. And to me, this is no different than this symbol. It's the same thing, if you know what you're looking at. Now, the problem with what went on, how they messed up this time, this was the big mess up. They were warned because they chose this symbol, and this symbol has all the power it needs to stand because it's got cardinal fire. And it's got Venus in Libra, and it's got Mars in Aries. And it's very cardinal, very powerful, and it rules over this whole age right here. This is the symbol for this age. It's an X in a circle. When this symbol is an apostate symbol. Now, where they messed up was Mercury. It's Virgo. They messed up here with Virgo because now they're dealing with miry clay. They're dealing with sand. They've built their house on the sand, the shifting sands, and it won't stand because they built it on Mercury rules commerce and navigation and communication. And Mercury rules what I call water world commerce. He's ruling water world commerce because we're in Pisces. Everything is maritime law. It's a commercial law. Mercury rules all the logos, advertising. All of that is under actually Gemini, the masculine aspect. But because of commerce, Virgo, it's going down. So basically what you're saying with this Mars-Mercury dynamic is the war machine it's not there for, it's there to make money. It's not there for even power because it has all the power. It don't need any more. It's ruling both sides. You're fighting for the same captain. When they shoved that lunar pillar into that solar pillar, that's the same thing as the black pope and the white pope are one. They are one. And they're ruled over by the dynamic of cardinal fire. The black, here, let's do it this way. You would say the black pope is this way and the white pope is this way. You have black and white here. You have yellow and red here. But then this thing that rules over it, which is cardinal fire, this symbol rules over it. It's the same thing as this symbol. Actually, you do have Libra down here as well. I wonder, is that why they put the anchors, what I call them, but the circles? It makes the pendulum. And it swings back and forth from pillar to pillar. Now, in the next stage, we move from Jupiter, Mars goes down first. The wars have to end because Mars is going to move from being cardinal fire to fixed water. And Scorpio is about the hero. And remember, I told you when Scorpio, right now, Sagittarius is in the winter solstice. It's kind of Gandanta between the two signs. But when Scorpio enters the winter solstice, the story for Scorpio changes, as it does for all of them, as they move through the different equinoxes and solstice. We go through power shifts, and each constellation goes through a power shift. And Scorpio moves into the story where the hero dies in the end. Ophiuchus, the upper house of Scorpio, is the hero. It's the eagle. It's part of the feathered serpent. Well, in that storyline, when you hit the winter solstice, the hero saves the day, but the hero dies in the end. Not like Christ, not as a martyr. There's no martyrdom here. It's like Samson taking down the 2 pillars. He dies in the process, right? And we can really equate this Samson story to a kind of ritual that we're going through now. Then it was like the middle path took down the 2 pillars. This time, the 2 pillars took down themselves to try to rebuild themselves in their own image. You know, they talk like, in symbolism, when you see the abomination that maketh desolate, the abomination of desolation, in imagery, in symbology, the symbol for the abomination that maketh desolate is Shiva, which a lot of times is attributed to Saturn. But that's not true. I've proved over and over and over that Shiva is Gemini. Shiva can also be represented by the freaking Cairo. It's got 6 arms. It's got 6 points. But here, you don't see Gemini in this factor because it's the 3 water signs with the 3 fire signs. And Mercury, that's why it's going down, because they tried to play banker in the little thing. They thought they would get rich while they were doing it. They didn't need money to have power. They hoard the wealth, not for more wealth, because they own it all. All we have are what are called debt notes. That's all we have. We don't have money, and we don't own property. If you pay a property tax, then you don't own it. You just have a title deed to it, which is nothing more than a lease. We own nothing. These creatures, for lack of a better word, they own everything. Don't confuse the word creature and beast in Revelation for people. These are systems. You have to think in symbology, think in imagery. That's why I'm always telling you, learn to hear with your eyes. What does that symbol say? Learn to see with your ears. When you hear the words, what images are exploding in your mind's eye? That's how we learn. We've not been taught anything, people. We've been programmed and we've been so misinformed. Now, the only reason, and from my perspective anyway, the only reason anybody would ever do this is, one, they live in the complete lower chakras. They can't even comprehend the upper chakras. How is it stated? The darkness could not comprehend the light. The light shone in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Couldn't understand it. Didn't understand what it was. Which is ironic to me, because to me, when I came into my body through the right eye, put my little eyeballs there, came in through the right eye, when you go into the brain, it's dark in there. And you're the light in the body. Well, I was the light not comprehending the darkness. I didn't comprehend the darkness. What is this place? Where am I? Why am I separate? Where's everybody else at? I'd never been alone before. I'd always been part of the collective. We were one. Just one great big story. And I was just one character in that story, but we were one. And to be separate was the most traumatic thing. I think that's why people forget it. It's so traumatic to me, after all I've been through in my life. I shit you not, it is still, to me, the most traumatic thing I've ever experienced, was coming into the body. I was devastated. Still am. I think we spend our whole lives looking for the rest of ourselves in other people. And I'm sure that part of ourselves are in other people, but the greatest part of ourselves is already within ourselves. And I don't have any evidence for what I'm fixing to tell you. I've said it before. But from where I stand in my perspective, when the egg in the mother, it's neither male nor female, and it's fertilized. And at that point, it's male and female. And it has to make a choice whether it's going to be a male, an XX or an XY chromosome. And if you're female, then the XY part of you goes into your thalamus or pineal gland, and it goes above. It dies. You're conceived down here, and it dies and goes and lives up here and is waiting on you to find it. If you're born male, then your higher self is female. If you're born female, then your higher self is male. Now, that's not always true in twins. We have the two males or the two females, so that dynamic can change. But for the majority of the population, according to the statistics in nature, that's the way it would play out. Is that, when I met my higher self, I didn't know who that was. At the time, I wasn't aware. I was just a small child. I didn't know nothing about God. I'd never been to church. I'd never read the Bible. My mother was an atheist. The only time I ever heard even the words God or Jesus were in curse words. Something my mother was screaming at me about how bad she hated me. And so I had no concept. I had nothing to relate it to. All I knew was when I was in this being's presence, I felt whole, complete. I was no longer alone, and I knew them. It was like I knew this. I would use the terminology, and I did at the time. I used the terminology, my brother. Not just brother, twin. Your twin goes and lives up here. We're all twins. We just get divided. We live down here in the physical world, and our twin is up here in the spiritual world. And we get to meet ourselves. And again, like I said, even Christ said, "Forbid not the children to come unto me." Because it's easiest for the child. It was easiest for me. It happened to me naturally. I didn't do anything. Ironically enough, what I did do, the weeks leading up to opening my third eye, was very much in line with Hermetic rituals. The fasting, the humiliation, I lost all desire, lost all emotion. I shut my chakras down, and then my heart was utterly broken. Again, Old Testament. I despise your festivals and your rituals and your sacrifices and your feast days. All of this is an abomination unto me. I want your love. I desire a broken and a contrite heart. And that was the last one for me. My heart broke. I let out a very Holy Ghost kind of groan from the throat chakra, and then my pineal popped. I shut down my emotions, Mars. I had no desire but to get out of here. I gave up all power. I wanted no part of anything lower chakra. I didn't want any of this. I didn't even want any of the heart because it hurt too bad. It hurt too bad. I had been here for about 5 or 6 years in this body alone, and I was tired of it. My heart was broken. There's no love in this place at all. I want out. And so I cried, and then, boom, I got my crown. The sun exploded everywhere. It just exploded, and I was suddenly in this land I call milk and honey now. It was this golden, white, liquid light. It was pure love. It emanated from my higher self. Just emanated. Your higher self is made out of this stuff. Its light body is different than my light body. My light body looks like my body. When I drowned in the pool, near-death experience, I was fascinated that I had 2 bodies. I didn't care that one of them was drowning. I didn't like that body, but I liked the new one. It didn't feel any pain. It could breathe underwater. It was incredible. I wanted to stay there, except for the fact I knew I was stuck in the water. There's something about being stuck in the water. Now, your spiritual body, it runs on copper, and your physical body runs on iron. Think about what I'm telling you here. Your physical body is dominated by emotions and sexuality. Your spiritual body is dominated by your heart, and it even skips Mercury and the higher self. Now, in Capricorn and Aquarius, both ruled by Saturn, we're going to move from being, this whole symbol comes down. So we're going to move from being ruled by Jupiter and Mars straight to the top. And even in the next stage, Mercury has no part. Jupiter and Mercury have no part in the next 2 ages. A world in the Bible, it should be translated world age. And so we have world without end, because they are one. Aquarius and Capricorn are one. It's not 2 parts. They are a whole. Aquarius is going to be about alchemy and astrology and karma. I really detest this law of one raw material that came out of freaking Chicago. I read that book back in the 80s. It's old school for me. And I know exactly how it was channeled, who was channeling it, and where that information was coming from, and why they put it out. It's so clear to me now. Because they're going to invert everything just to bibble-babble it. Because it's not the law of one. It's the one law. You reap what you sow. Karma and dharma. That's what Aquarius is about. And in that age, that's what we're going to learn. It's the age of Thalum, the thalamus, the age of the master. And we all become our own kings. We become our own masters, which takes us into Capricorn, where we become Jedis. We are able to manipulate mind over matter. And you can even see this in when you learn about the Yugas. Like we're in Kali Yuga. But for Kali Yuga to end, you must have Kalki. Kali is highly associated with Shiva in a lot of tradition, in a lot of the symbolism. But at the same time, Kalki it also has like a destructive. To take away, to get the new, you have to take away the old first. This world must come down. All of it. In a way, the powers that be are correct. They know it's going to come down, and they're trying to what I call a controlled burn. It's just where we differ is the outcome. They want to bring it down so they can set it back up in their own image all over again. It's the outcome that will be different this time. The battle will occur. Civilization will fall. Now, how that happens, we're given a unique view in the book of Revelation with these riders on the horses, the riders of the apocalypse. Apocalypse does not mean doom and destruction. It means unveiling, revealing. And a lot is being revealed to the public. Now, because we moved from being ruled by empire, desire, war, emotions, and sexuality to being ruled by our higher selves. When Saturn is in control, all of our chakras are going to shine like the sun. They're all going to get in line. Right now, they're all out of order because of the symbolism and the age that we live in. At the transmutation stage we're currently in, we have to go from water. We're moving from Pisces, which is Jupiter, right here, over here. And we're going all the way to the top, over here. We're moving from the bottom left to the top right. That's a big jump. That's a big jump. And down here, Jupiter's all tangled up with Mars. He's all tangled up with the sun and the moon and the eclipse rituals. And he's all tangled up with the money and the commerce. This is what you need to set free right here. And unfortunately, because of the imagery over here and it being evoked down here, Libra and Mars on the masculine axis of the cardinal cross, without being balanced by that feminine aspect of it, it's a very arrogant, unbalanced masculine heart. Actually, everything you're viewing today, you're not really viewing toxic femininity. That's not what it is. It is toxic masculinity parading itself as feminism. And it's not. It hates the woman. This system. It hates her. With a passion. It's jealousy. That jealousy exists on this axis. It's an unbalanced masculine heart. Right down there. Arrogance, jealousy, same with Mars. It's warlike, it's rage, it's out of control. It's the angry ram on YouTube. Just going after that bag over and over in your face, never stopping. War, 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 more, more, more. And we've seen this dynamic played out ever since the beginning of written history. There's only one place that we read where Solomon had 40 years of peace, that there was no war. But that was just for for Israel, for the Hebrew people, because the rest of the war was still warring. It's never stopped. Well, it's going to. It's going to. Now, one of the things I've been learning since I've added doing the chakras to the charts, and you do it 3 times. You do it in the natal position, first and second Saturn returns. Boy, does it bring a whole new light onto the scene. You see who you were, who you are, and who you're going to be. You see where you need balance. And it's easy to figure out, looking at it this way, where to find that balance. Where to look within ourselves, not outside of ourselves, but within. This is us. This is how we need to be looking at it. We don't need to be looking at it through the eyes of religion on 3 crosses. We really don't even need to look at it through astrology. We don't need to look at it through Kabbalah or Freemasonry. This is the way. This is the way to see how it affects us. personally, and how to deal with it, what it takes to balance that, how to move away from that, or how to move into it. I couldn't be more pleased at this information being revealed to us. It's always been there. This information has always been there. It's just we've not been taught how to see it. We haven't been taught anything again. We've been so... We're not even in preschool. It's so sad that this place is really... There are 101 constellations when you include the sun. So to me, this is life 101. And we should be in college, mature adults, maturing into adults, and we're still in diapers. We can't even control our bowels. We're still crying for mama. We're all just babies. They call us sheep. We gotta have somebody to point the way and tell us the way. We don't know who we are or where we're going. Well, this is all a good start. This helps us understand at a minimum of who we are. And once you've done that, then you can get your feet on the ground. Unfortunately, our feet in this age is on shifting sands. And it's all coming down. So we can't depend on what's outside of ourselves. You can only depend on what's inside of yourself. Now, I lived most of my life down here. Let me tell you about my life down here. It's a struggle. We all do this. When I'd say me as an example, but this is you too, because this is the world. And we struggle. And we have to reach up for money, and reach up for love, and reach up for understanding. Because we're all down here. And it's just chaos, and it's a fight. It's a struggle every single day. When we need to be up here. Now, when I lived down here, I was just like everybody else. I got up every morning. You had your shit you had to do that day. And you immediately start thinking about it. What bills are due? What you have to go to the store for? Is my dog sick? It's just one thing after another. And you worry about them. As a Capricorn, I'm goal oriented, so I want to make a schedule and I want everything to be in order. And I need to do this before I can do that. And it's very depressing. It's very dark. It's very cloudy. It's very lonely. It's a struggle. And it's survival. That's all it is. It's just freaking survival. There's no living to it being down here. But in Las Vegas, when I woke up and I decided I was tired of living that way. And that I just made a choice to look at the world in a different way. And I got up every morning, and instead of making the list of my woes for the day, I started making a list of what I was grateful for that day. What I was looking forward to that day, instead of away from, even the struggles. Now what I was complaining about, the very same things I were complaining about, I started making them things I was grateful for. And everything changed for me. And it didn't take long. Within just days, I noticed how more vivid the colors were around me. When you're down here, it's like living in this black and white world. But when you're up here, even the trees talk to you. And everything changed. And nothing outside of me changed. I changed, and my perception of the world around me changed. Down here, in the physical world, remember, this is iron, which is magnetic. And this is copper, or spiritual, physical and spiritual. And it's electric. Remember, we got the electromagnetic dynamic going on. So here, everything is a struggle. It's a fight. It's depressing. It's survival mode. To be able to live, you have to be in the upper chakras, especially the Saturn-Venus, which is ironic because Saturn being the crown chakra, he doesn't rule the top. Libra does. Libra rules the top of that ladder, the top of that pillar. Libra does. The most high of heaven. And it's the heart chakra. But to get there, you got to go here. But it's funny that Saturn, who rules the crown chakra, is exalted in Venus's house of Libra. Saturn's exalted in Libra. Saturn is exalted in the heart. So you've got this electromagnetic dynamic going on. Everything down here, opposites attract. Male, female, black, white, the North Pole, the South Pole of a magnet dynamic. But up here, like attracts. Like mind, like communication, like heart. Birds of a feather flock together. Bird brains. We're all bird brains. That's what you want to be. And that's a slander. And to be an airhead, which is Aquarius, airhead. That's a slander in this age. They can't stand it. A bird brain, an airhead, all of this negative slang that directly relates to the age of Aquarius, which is where we want to be. Now, again, I talked about marriage and how we end up marrying down here. We marry, opposites attract. We think we love them. We think our heart chakra is invoked because we have all this feeling and emotion, Mars, that is deceiving our hearts. We deceive our own hearts. It would be great to find a mate that you're opposite with in the physical, but you're the same with in the spiritual. Boy, that's hard, especially when you have the male-female dynamic going on to begin with, because men are generally motivated down here and women tend to be more motivated up here. So they're trying to flip everything. We've talked about the age of Aquarius and what it's going to be like. It's going to be like the bird kingdom. You want to know, birds of a feather flock together. They don't mix with other birds. Most birds do mate for life. They're born knowing how to build their nest. They do not have to be taught. All that ancestral DNA is alive and well and ever present. That knowledge that humans, we no longer pass on in our DNA. It's there. We're just not aware of it. I can connect to my ancestral DNA. Sometimes I think that's what people think reincarnation is. I have to agree with reincarnation because alchemy kind of does that. You just keep recycling everything till you've refined it all. And nothing is lost. Even Christ says nothing is lost. I lose nothing. Whatever the Father gives to me comes to me. And what He gives to me, I lose nothing, save one, that son of perdition. So everything is refined over and over. And that can happen in one lifetime or many lifetimes. I remember before I was born. I remember where I came from. And this is my first time in a body. I have memories that go back, I want to say aeons, but it's longer than that. I've literally, my memory base from being before in the body, it was like sitting in a movie theater and you watched the universe and you watched stars being born and you watched them die. And that takes longer than aeons. It really does. There's no time frame there like there is here. I can only measure it based on my concept of or perception of what time is here. Because there is no time. The near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences I've had, some of them, from my perspective, I was gone for months. I was gone for a long time in this other place. But when you come back into your body and they tell you, oh, you've only been gone like this many minutes. You begin to see what time is. Time as we use it is a construct of man. It's a construct of man because there are different ways of looking at time. And like when you look at the zodiac and you realize that all of the stars are shining here all the time, 24 hours a day. Even during the day when you can't see them, their light is still shining in our direction. If it wasn't for the sun, we could see them. Now, all that dynamic is playing out here all the time. Our future is somebody else's past. Our now is somebody else's tomorrow. But it's all occurring at one time. The past, the present, and the future are eternal. All in one moment. Every single moment. They're all playing out. All the symbols are in play right now. They always have been. They always will be. Now, we're moving from the symbolism. We have this in the Native American tradition. I'm going to do it as a totem pole. Because on the top, we have Pisces. And then we have Aries. And then we have Taurus. And then we have Gemini. So you have white. This is the color. It's also the people. You have yellow. You have black. And you have red. You have water. You have water. You have fire. You have earth. And you have air. This is the totem that we're under right now. But we're moving to where when Aquarius comes in, this Gemini falls off. And this earth falls off. These two are gone. Because we're going to get a new heaven, Aquarius, red. Before the earth part falls off, first red falls off. Now you have red, white, yellow, black. And so the red man goes on top. And then the white man is no longer preeminent. And then the yellow man and the black man. The black man thinks he's at the bottom of the totem pole right now, but he's not. That's a lie. The red man is at the bottom of the totem pole, Gemini. But the way the totem works is who's ever on bottom goes to the top and then pushes the others down. But because the next age is world without end, the black and the red are the same. And I saw a new heaven, Aquarius, and a new earth, Capricorn. For the first heaven, Gemini, and the first earth, Taurus, are passed away. They're no more. They're gone. They were all a lie anyway. So the dynamic's going to change. And predominantly, it is the yellow man on the bottom, which is fire. That is going to be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. That is going to be Mars, Jupiter, and the Sun. Because Saturn's going to rule it all. Our higher selves. We're going to have a direct connection. we'll be telepathic in a way, not like what people think, because you have to focus on it. You're not going to hear, it's not going to be like Highlander where you hear everybody's thoughts at one time. It's not like that. If you think about someone, they'll instantly know you're thinking about them, and they'll be thinking about you, and you connect. It's like a ping. To focus on it is just like pinging it. But the other side has to agree to answer the call. You can't just go into somebody's mind and take out what you want. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like the Jedi. It's very, very much like what we're shown in Star Wars. And to me, that's why they're trying to kill it. They're trying to kill anything that even resembles stuff we've been shown about the coming age. All space stuff, they want to kill it. Or if they can't destroy it, they want to make a complete mockery out of it. Whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, all of that. What do they do to it? They're dragging it all down here into the sexual, into empire and desire and power and perversion and sexuality and gender and emotion and rage and feelings. I'm going to make a statement about the election. And this is going to be the only statement I'm ever going to make about a U.S. election. The United States is a corporation. If you're going to vote, the most stupid thing you can do is vote based on your feelings and not your wallet. Because this is a company. And everybody has voted regardless of what side. They voted not based on their wallet. They voted based on their feelings. And I don't care what pillar you were on. Both sides were so emotionally provoked. It was all about emotions. There was no connecting with the higher self. There was no middle path. There was no quiet, observant heart. None of that. It wasn't even about the money. It wasn't even about Mercury. Look at, more money was spent on the last election than probably several previous elections combined. And for what? What is all of this about? All of this is about keeping you down here. Every freaking bit of it. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of this dynamic right up here between Saturn and the heart chakra. To me, what's really going on with this symbol, what's really going to bring this symbol down, is going to be what the powers that be refer to as Lucifer. It's that masculine axis, heart chakra, unbalanced. That's what a Lucifer is. It's missing its counterpart. So the pendulum hangs one way. It's top heavy. It's Mars top heavy. But something's going to happen to the masculine side or the heart. In Libra, about balance. Isn't that what brings balance to the force? The force is neither masculine or feminine. It's ungendered. But when you use it on the solar pillar, it becomes masculine. When you use it on the lunar pillar, it becomes feminine. It's neutral up the middle. It's neither masculine nor feminine. It's not eclipsed. When we plug into the upper chakras, I call that the 220. But what we're told is, in that day, you'll have no need of the sun or the moon. No sun, no moon, for I, the third eye, am with you. We won't even need it. But these down here can't live without it. The spirit doesn't need the sun to shine on it. It's brighter than the sun. The spirit doesn't need the moon. It has no effect on it. Jupiter rules the physical world of the sun and the moon with Mars. We have to learn to move up here. And for each of us, that's going to take something different. That depends on where your planets are on these chakras and which side they're on, which constellations they're in. I've done it all for you. Let me do it one more time. Mars is fire and water. So he's Aries, fire, and he's Scorpio, water. Here are Mars's symbols. He's fire, he's water, he's the symbol of the ram over here. He's the symbol of the eagle or the scorpion over here. Let me do this right. Hold on. Mars has a symbol. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. You can see the cardinal cross right there. But it's not straight up and down because Mars is leaning. I think it should be the other way. Myself, I think they pointed the wrong way. You have Jupiter. Jupiter rules fire of Sagittarius, water of Pisces, fire, water. Astrological symbol looks like, I call it a 24. It kind of looks like a 2 and a 4. A 2 with a line down it. Unusual symbol. The sun and the moon. The sun is the power side, fire. The moon is the water. And every bit of this, all of that, belongs what I call below the belt. And then you have the upper chakras, and they're all, on this side, they're all air. And on this side, they're all earth, or masculine and feminine. We're going to move, this is Saturn, I call it the, they do it backwards. It's T-H, that's the or L, right? That's the or L. Jupiter is Yahweh. Now L is supposed to be Saturn, but they've attributed the last stage, they attribute it to Mars, but it's not Mars. Never was, never will be. He is not L, he is not the. Only Saturn can be L or the. And because his house is not divided, he's one. God is one. Aquarius and Capricorn are one. But Mars is divided. Jupiter's divided. The sun and the moon are divided. The heart's divided. Mercury and the throat chakra is divided. So God is L. It means one, singular, the. Even Jupiter's symbol, again, it looks like a 2, and I call it 24. And Saturn is the cross with what actually looks like part of the Capricorn symbol. The Capricorn, it does the thing like that. So it's almost like the fixed cross add Capricorn. But it's not divided. It's one. It's the. It's L means the. La, L, the. All the same thing. And that's here. But this guy down here likes to be called that. But he's not one. He's divided. Just like he's divided within us. I'm always saying we need to pull ourselves together. We need to pull ourselves together. I think before we're able to do that, we have to learn the distinction of the separation itself. to learn how do we pull it together. We don't even understand the separation. How do we understand to pull together? Another word totally attributed to Saturn, understand. You got to stand under and look up. I thank Jordan Maxwell for that statement. That was one of the biggest keys for me, because I always had an argument with English, and when I learned a foreign language, I learned why English was so different than other languages, why it was so hard to learn, why there were so many irregular verbs. They removed the masculine and the feminine from the noun or the subject, and they made pronouns. Most language don't have pronouns, which is hella ironic with all these pronoun wars going on, because how do you do that in Spanish? There is no he or she. It's built into the noun. You have a bambino or a bambina. Do you change the... Actually, it's been changed before. They use O as the masculine and A as the feminine, when in all actuality, O is feminine and A is masculine. I need to pause for a second. I meant this to be a 15-minute video. I'm sorry. Alright, I'm gonna wrap this up now with the reason I wanted to make this video, part 3. It's because some of the charts I've been doing recently and some of the emails I've been responding to, people, at least the people on my channel, when you come to my channel, you're generally searching. You're looking for something. You're what I call people who you're seeking. You're the seekers. You're seeking for truth and direction and understanding. And a lot of you have been in what I call in an extremely desperate situation. And my advice to you, my advice to everybody, even if you're not struggling, is to start looking at the world in a different way. You can't change the world. You can only change you. And you need to start being grateful every day. I can't tell you at how much happier I am. I finally am at peace with just about everything. It takes a lot to really ruffle my feathers or take me down. My big issues are physical. My skeletal structure is just gone. I've never had good bones. And they're just a mess. They're just a mess, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm pushing 60 years old, but unless I take kratom, I feel 100. It's like I have arthritis all over my body, not just my hands. It's everywhere. They would probably tell me I had fibromyalgia. That's probably what they would tell me. But I don't bother with the doctors anymore. There's nothing they can do for me. And I give my body what it needs to sustain it and keep it going. But to me, it's like being in that pool. It's just dirty clothes. And as long as my soul is in it, it will live. But when my soul leaves, I'm done with it anyway. So it's not priority for me. What priority for me are the upper chakras. As the sun changes this dynamic and everything here changes, we're moving from these lower frequencies into these upper frequencies. We're moving from a frequency of mutable water to a frequency of fixed air. Once we get a fixed heaven, I do believe the earth is going to shift. It's not going to pole flip like people think it is. The magnetics are changing, that's for sure. But what's going to happen is the earth is going to become more stable. We're moving into a fixed earth, a fixed heaven, a fixed water, and a fixed air, fixed fire. All of it fixed. That means stable. Right now, because our magnetics are off through this whole age. The world age it wobbles, and we have what you call the seasons. But when we move into the next age, it's my understanding that the equator of the earth will be in line with the sun belt. Right now, the sun belt and the equator are off from each other. The true north and magnetic north are off from each other, and those are going to line back up. That's when we get a fixed heaven and a fixed earth. When you have a fixed heaven like that, it automatically creates a cardinal earth, Capricorn. Like everything will be equatorial. The two poles they'll be stable, but they'll still be frozen. Especially because I think the North Pole, as we know it, is going to be more into Russia and Europe. Because one, their water. They rule this age, and that water changes from mutable to fixed. So you're going to see the pole shift in that direction. It has to move in such a way that the sun belt follows the equator. Because we're going to have a stable age. Two of them. We're going to have a fixed heaven that automatically, instantly creates a cardinal earth. And we'll be able, equatorially, you'll be able, and especially subtropic zones, you'll be able to grow year round. There'll be so much abundance of flora and fauna. Bears won't have to hibernate anymore. That kind of thing. It's going to change everything. We're moving to a bird kingdom. We're moving from water world. We're moving from even our language. It's water language. It's fish language. It's maritime law. All of that. Gone. Gone. And we're moving into the language of the birds. Everything about the birds. They're imitating that now. By men dressing as women. By being the pretty ones. Well, that's natural in the bird kingdom. The male is the pretty one. The female is going to have so much power. In this age, the woman dresses up to attract the man. It's all down here. But in the next age, the woman is going to be so complete that the man's going to have to dress up pretty to attract her. Talk about a flip. But that's the way it is in the animal kingdom. The birds are the females are the plain James, but the ones with the beautiful plumage, they're all male. And so, to me, what they're doing now is just an imitation, which that's all they've ever done. All they can do is try to pull a knockoff imitation of creation. It's like the pharmaceutical industry. They didn't want any part of marijuana because they can't patent it. They can only patent synthetics. They can't, it's against their own laws to patent nature. So what do? They imitate it. That's all they can do. And they're really bad at it. They're really bad at it. But that's their whole dynamic. That's all they've ever done for 10 aeons, for 10 ages, is just imitate nature. But nature has its own design, and it is self-correcting. And to me, moving into Aquarius, the sun changing is part of that self-correcting. And it's going to correct the dynamic here. All things have to be restored. The old has to go away to get the new. These governments have to come down. These systems have to come down. And the only thing you need to be concerned with, not out of fear, but out of just common freaking sense, is to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared to move from one age to another. Now, we're told in the Bible, there are verses like, in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye, singular, an eye, this mortality puts on immortality. I've always wondered that, to me, that has two meanings. Because when I open my third eye, and when I've had near-death experiences, you immediately realize there's no such thing as death. There's just no such thing. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change from one form to another, and that's what we do. We change from one form to another. We don't evolve, we mutate. We transmutate. That's what alchemy is about. We are becoming. So as we go through these shifts and dynamics, not everybody can survive it. You have to be, come on, upper chakra. And they're doing everything they can to keep everybody right down here. And they're doing it on a symbolic subconscious level. They're doing it in a literal level. They're doing it by force. They're using everything. They're doing it by ritual, everything at their disposal to try to keep you in the lower chakras. They're not trying to kill you. If you're dead, then you're no longer useful to them because they're ruling this kingdom. They're not ruling this kingdom. They're imitating this kingdom. They imitate this one by ruling this one. That's all it can do. They're imitating creation itself and perverting it. They're creating it in their own image. In their own image down here. So, for all of you people that are stressed out, depressed, life ain't working right for you. It's a struggle for all of us. And trust me, when you grab that middle path and you start walking on it, they're going to throw everything they can at you to keep you off balance, to keep you in the lower chakras, to keep you depressed, to keep you sad, to keep you struggling, keeping you fighting for nothing but survival. When surviving is not living. Now, every one of us know there's something deep inside of you that tells you there's something terribly wrong with this place. This is not how it's supposed to be. Well, there's also something very deep inside of you that tells you how it's supposed to be. And that's what you need to grab. That's the part of you you need to grab in you, of how you know it's supposed to be. And you don't need to do it in anger. You need to do it in understanding and in a loving, patient, long-suffering manner. You need to start looking at the world through grateful eyes and hearts instead of being ungrateful. Opposites attract down here, but like attracts up here. So what you think, what comes out your mouth, and what's in your heart is just going to multiply to you. So if you have a sad heart and you dwell on it, well, you're just going to get more sad heart because that's what you're focusing on. It's not like that in the physical world. In the physical world, it's opposite, but up here, and that's why we're manifesting this. We're all manifesting this shit. Life today seems to just be one big ritual. To me, that's all television and the radio and even the church and the governments. They're just one big satanic ritual. All of it. All of it. Both pillars. And y'all know how I feel about Satan. No, that's not Saturn. Straight up, Christ called the Jew Peter Satan to his face. Now get around that one and explain that to me. Because he called it the Jew Peter, which is Jupiter, to his face was Satan. The God of this world age. Number 2. And Jupiter is the God of this world age. And he has a son, Mercury, that y'all call baby Jesus. When the true name, I'm just going to tell you, it's not Jesus. Jesus is the son of Zeus. The son of Saturn. There's our TH. The air sign. And the LM. You can put the I there, but the LM is the ML going this way from the Arabic, that means king. So you're saying the king, the king. It translates to master, instructor, educator, guide, rabbi. Anytime they called in the New Testament where they called Christ rabbi, or they called him master, or they called him teacher, or they called him Lord, this is the word they used. They bibble-babbled our ass. And they've got us calling this guy up here, the thalamus, they've got us calling him Jesus, which is the son of Jupiter, way down here. Which words don't matter, really. It's an intent in your heart and a symbolism running your subconscious. If your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are the same, you're that unique Pluto and Virgo generation, or the end of that Pluto and Leo generation, then you don't have that problem, but everybody else does. That's why the world seems so different to you. It's different to the last of the boomers and the first of Generation X. It's your time. Pluto and Virgo. This is Generation X. And it's so sad what's going on, and that we've been so lied to. But to me, the best weapon you have to break the spell that's been cast upon you and others around you is the being grateful. It's the bringing of what you really want in the same dynamic as the upper chakras. You got to get out of the survival mode. I don't even call it hope, because hope leaves room for doubt. And you can't manifest nothing with doubt. You need more than belief. You need to know. I call it having great expectations. Get up every day and be grateful for life. Grateful for another day, even if it's a hard day. Take it as a lesson, a learning experience. What can I learn from this day? What good karma can I bank from this today? The whole world is dumping on me today. How do I survive this, but how do I overcome it? That's a word that's used over and over and over in the New and the Old Testament. He who overcomes. Come on over is how you overcome. They flipped our language. So, get that rainbow flag up. I've got one in front of me. Somebody sent me that cute little magnet one, and I've got it just right here. So anytime I'm sitting here, my subconscious can see it, even though I'm not looking at it. I'm not directly focused on it, but my subconscious is. And it changes the dynamic of everything. It puts you in an upper chakra dynamic instead of that emotional survival mode of red on top. You get that purple on top. You make a list every day. Put a post-it note beside your bed to remind you. When you wake up, what are you grateful for today? And make that list all day long. And you have to be grateful for what we identify with as good and evil. Knowing that you have something to learn from it. You have something to gain from it. There's an experience there to be had. But life gets a lot easier. Actually, life don't get easier. What it does, it don't even get more bearable. I've come to a place that it doesn't matter what happens anymore, whether it's good or bad. I'm just at peace. I'm actually, for the first time in my life doing this, I can actually say I'm happy. I found the knowledge that has satisfied my obsession in life. I needed to know why. Now I know why. And alchemy, it all makes sense to me. It has a purpose. It has a reason for being. Even the negative things have a reason for being. And it makes it easier to accept and overcome. I can endure all things now. I couldn't before. I just couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear it. It's how I opened my third eye, because I couldn't and I wouldn't. I refused to. I just flat said no more. Don't want no more. Nope, nope, I'm out. Not staying. Nope, not going back. But they tugged on my heartstrings to get me to come back. Not for myself. And I'm glad I did. But I think I'm at a point in my life now to where if I did clock out again, I would refuse to come back. I would refuse to come back. And I feel like I've done my work here. I'm almost fulfilled my contracts. My brother is decided that what time he has left, there's some things he needs and wants to do. And I don't blame him. So I'm going to help him. He's fixing to take a trip. And he's going to be gone for about 2 months. Maybe a month. Maybe 3. He plans on coming back. But I've already bought him the plane ticket. And he's leaving on the 26th of this month. I'm taking him to Dallas to the airport. I've been shoving $10 here and $20 there away so that I can give him some money to take with him when he goes. But I reckon if I was in his shoes and I knew that my time was very limited and I felt like I had loose ends I needed to tie up, I would do what he's doing. So I'm going to be here by the summer for myself. So if any of you care to visit, would be a great time to do it. I'm going to have at least June and July by myself, which is going to give me extra time to get all this caught up, which I'm trying to do. I know there are still several of you waiting on your charts. Be patient. You're going to be really happy with what you get, and nobody's going to get overlooked. It's just, right now, with adding this new dynamic to them, they're over 2 hours long, which has pushed it, processing time, uploading time, prep time, all that. It's taking me 8 hours now. So I can only do one a day. And sometimes they're so devastating. I get so emotionally connected to the chart that I can't get it out of my mind for a couple of days, and it affects the next chart. So I kind of got to stop for at least one day and do what I call a cleansing ritual to let go of that energy so that I can give the next chart the complete attention that it deserves. I don't want to give somebody a half-ass chart. I just won't do it. I'd just soon give your money back than do that. Because to me, this is life-changing. Especially when I added the chakras to it. I didn't understand them before. When you go back through my older videos, you see the process where I'm learning about chakras. And at the 4 years ago, I was upset because purple was on top, because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it was and why it was that way. I was upset. I was upset that red was on top. Or did I say that backwards? Anyway, the way it is, the way they said it, yes, purple on top. I was upset with that. But now I get it. I thought the proper way was red on top, just like everybody tells me. But red's on top in the rainbow. Yeah, that's because I didn't understand the mirror dynamic applied to more things than I thought it did in alchemy. It applies to everything, not just more things, all things. And once I incorporated that, then it kind of all fell in line. To me, I've had the pieces of puzzle for about 20 years. I've had all of them. My life experiences, and then a trunk load full of alchemy books, and then being invited to occult.biz. That was the nail in the coffin. I had every piece of the puzzle. I just didn't know how it fitted together. Now I do. Now I see it more than ever. I see the 3 crosses at Golgotha, the 3 crosses in the heaven, the 3 paths, the 3 pillars, the 3 sticks, the 3 states of matter. I see the chakras. I can see it all. And it's that circle is perfect. It's the dynamic we live in. It has a purpose that is not evil. In the end, all evil is eliminated. Alchemy's purpose is to dispel, diffuse, extract the quintessence, the best of the best. It's like squeezing the essential oil out of life itself. And that's us. That's us. We are the essential oil of life. The salt of the earth. All right. An hour and a half. Yeah, it's time to cut this short. Y'all know what to do, people. Be the kindness in this world. Be grateful even for the bad things and how they can help you to grow, overcome. We need to really start learning more of how to live than just survive the suffering that we inflict on ourselves. You know what? That was another epiphany for me, was that when I finally started being grateful, and then it took about a week, and the changes really, when it happened, it was like boom. I realized I was creating my own hell on earth, because I was living in the lower chakras, doing nothing but surviving, struggling, focusing on my problems instead of my expectations. And so I've been down that road, and I find myself on it occasionally. My brother is much like my mother. I don't care what it is. He looks for the negative in everything. Everything he sees and everything he talks about is what is wrong with something or what he doesn't like about it. And no matter how much I point it out to him, he can't break this dynamic. It's so programmed into him by my mother, the way she raised us, and society. Society does this as well. We focus on the negative. We focus on the problem instead of the solution. There's a lot of people, it's like cancel culture. They're running around canceling everybody, and yet they have no solution to anything. All they are is like snitches, tattletales, finger pointers. They take responsibility for zero. Everything is somebody else's fault. You know what? In your life, nothing is anybody's fault but your own. Just like me, I have nobody to blame for my situation but myself. Whether it good or bad. And the more I focus on the bad, the more bad's going to happen. The more negative you focus on in the spiritual realm, the more the universe is going to give you. You focus in the spiritual realm on things that are positive, and then that's what you'll get. Now here, opposites attract. Here, like attracts. And they've plugged our emotions into our heart. They plugged our emotions into our speech, into your reasoning. There is no reason. It's not even a cancel culture anymore. It's like vulture culture. After they kill you and cancel you, they move in and pick the bones clean. It's incredible. It's awful. It's awful. Don't participate in that. Don't be a part of that dynamic. If anything, go in and pick up the pieces and help the person heal that's just been canceled. That's great karma. That's great karma right there. And those that are broken, as you pick them up, you tell them it's okay. Encourage them to don't hate back, to have great expectations that they'll be blessed and learn something from it, and that the ones doing it will as well. I feel really sorry for this generation doing this. Most of them are Pluto and Scorpio. And they're going to pay a hell of a price. They're fixing to fall flat on their face. The pendulum always swings the other way. Like I said, we're repeating a dynamic that happened back in the 60s. 2 Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions prior. Every other one, every other one, every other one, which is every 40 years. And then we had sit-ins and protest and love, and now we have riots and hate and separation. I keep getting blips here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's my computer or the electricity. Yeah, I think I better shut it down. I'm not sure what's going on here. All right, people. Y'all know what to do. Just be kind. Just be as kind as you can possibly be to one another. Love one another. I'd like to thank those people who donate to this channel. There's only a handful of you, but you don't know how much you mean to me to help me do this and to keep coming to you. I've even got a little savings up so I can, I'm going to get me another one with Windows 10 on it, which I hate, so that I can use the new tablet that I have so that I can draw without having to doodle and paint anymore. I hate this mouse. Alright, I love you all bunches. I'll be back when I can. I've got a lot on my plate. My brother's only here for 2 more weeks, and I need to get done what I can while he's here. And then I'll have a lot more time to devote to getting the charts finished and getting some really good videos out that I have in my head. Right now I need to finish this chakra series, and there's probably going to be another one. I guess the main thing I want you to understand from this video, the thing I hope you can take away with it, because there seemed to be a lot of confusion when I said we have 2 fathers and 2 mothers, is because we have a spiritual father and mother and a physical father and mother. The father and mother for our bodies are not the same ones for our souls. Alright. Love every one of you more than you really know. More than you really know. I'm just overjoyed these days. And it's really because of my subscribers. You send me some of the most wonderful links that have really helped me put all this together as well. Thank you. I appreciate you all.